Hello there. Thank you for joining me for the interview and salary negotiation webcast. Originally, this was a live workshop, and however, I had technical difficulties recording the live session. So therefore, this is a recorded webcast, and I'm going to walk through the same materials as the live session. And also, I'm going to address some of the questions that students raised during the live workshop session. My name is Alex Lowe. I'm the Assistant Director of USD Career Development Center. My email address is alexlo@sandiego.edu. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions. So before we actually start with the session today, I'm going to share with a couple career resources that may be relevant to the topic today. So first of all, at the USD Career Development Center website, sandiego.edu/careers, we have collected career resources relevant to the job search right now amid the impact of COVID-19. So on our webpage, if you click on COVID-19 updates, if you scroll down a little bit to career resources during COVID-19, here's a collection of career resources more relevant to the job search at this time. And for example, job search tips specifically for the current impact of COVID-19, and a list of the companies that are currently hiring, and also some companies who are laying off or not hiring at the moment. Interview resources, how to ace a virtual interview. During the live session, a student asked about tips specifically for a virtual interview. So the staffing company Proven Recruiting shared as with a list of virtual interview tips. If you're interested in reading, it's under COVID-19 resources. Okay, so beside the COVID-19 career resources, if you go to undergraduate career resources and you scroll down a little bit to interview preparation tools, and you can use this website interview string to do interview practice, and you can record your interview session and do a self-evaluation. You can also see how you appear on camera, and also a guide about how to prepare for a job interview. The information covered in this guide will be quite consistent with the information I'm sharing today. Okay, so this is a resource page on the USD Career Center website. Another resource I would like to share is the payscale.com. And because part of the topic today is about salary negotiation. So I'm going to share some general tips about salary negotiation. And if you want to learn more about salary negotiation, you could go to payscale.com and under For You, Salary Negotiation Guide. And they have articles and a guide about salary negotiation for many different scenarios if you want to do a little further reading. Okay, thank you again for joining me today. So now the actual webcast interview and the salary negotiation is starting. So let me switch to the full screen mode. So interview as a part of the hiring process. When you start the job application, the first step is usually filling up a job application form and sending in your resume and cover letter, and that's the initial screening process. And so the purpose of resume and the cover letter screening is to filter the application pool to reduce the candidate list to a more manageable amount so the employers can invite a candidate in for interviews. So resume and cover letters do not get you hired. They get you passed through the initial screening. And once you pass the initial screening, once you advance to the interview process, you need to prove that not only you're a qualified candidate, but also you are the solution to their needs. So in a typical scenario, a job open and there may be several dozens to several hundreds of candidates, and employers may select maybe the top 10, 15 candidates for a phone interview, and maybe top 3 to 5 candidates for a final interview, on-site interview. So as you can imagine, out of those hundreds of candidates, top 15 candidates who receive the interview are probably all well-qualified candidates. So besides proving that you're qualified to do the job, one of the very important purpose of interview is to build a case that you're a good fit to the organization. And so to build the case that you're a good fit to the organization, you need to know about the organization, know your audience, and know about yourself, your strengths, your best quality, and why they should hire you, what's unique about you. And you understand their workplace culture, you understand their mission and the values, and you can build a case that you're the solution for the needs they have at this time. So to build a case that you're a good fit to their hiring needs, first, know about organization, know your audience. Why do you want to work for our company? This is one of the very, very common questions interviewers may ask during the interview. So if you want to prepare for this question, you need to do your research about organizations. And if you want employers to take interest in you, you need to show interest in them by demonstrating knowledge about the position, the organization, the industry, and what appeals to you about the organization. Why are you interested in the position? And you can do your research through company websites. For larger organizations, you may be able to find information about them through professional association and the publications. If you know current employees, for example, USD alumni, mentor working in this company, you have a chance to do informational interview with them beforehand. That's probably one of the best source for insiders' wisdom. And review sites such as Glassdoor.com, and also research interviewer by reading their bio or LinkedIn. This is one thing I usually recommend for interview preparation. If you know the name of the interviewers, or do you know the particular department that you're interviewing for, you can search for the staff members' bio on the company's website. If such bio is not available, you can look up the staff member on LinkedIn.com to see their educational background, their professional background, how they describe their job. And so the better you know your audience, the better you can tailor your approach. Know about yourself. And so a lot of the personal assessment, the general common interview questions are all about asking you to tell the employer about who you are. What's your strengths, your weakness, your motivation? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's unique about you? Why should the employer hire you? And so know about yourself is very important. Not only know about your strengths, but know how to articulate that. So sometimes I find students struggle with sometimes the very first question in the interview. Tell me about yourself. And so tell me about yourself is not necessarily an invitation to ask about all your personal history, where you're born, and where you're raised. And if those are not relevant, and it's not going to be very impactful as an introduction to the conversation. And tell me about yourself. Really need to focus on a summary of your academic background, professional experience, and accomplishment, and your career interests and aspirations, and pave the way for further conversation about why it makes perfect sense for you to apply for this position. So if you have a very good introduction, and sometimes it's already giving employers some hints about your strengths and why you're interested in this particular position. And for example, I'm making this up now. So tell me about yourself. So I am a second-year graduate student at USD, higher education leadership cohort, about to receive my master's degree. And prior to my graduate program, I had 3-year experience in residential life. And as I'm about to graduate, I'm particularly interested in looking for red light positions. And my interests and the skills are really related to resolving conflicts and mediating conflicts and differences. And I really enjoy working with people and help people find their strengths and find their blind spots and help them to work through the differences. So introduction like that can give you a little bit of hint about your interests, your career interests, and your strengths. Maybe focus on working with people, resolving conflicts. And so later on when the employers ask you about what are your top skills and strengths, and if you tell them that I'm really interested in working with people and have many years of experience working to resolve roommates conflict, and I find that's especially something that I'm especially good at. And so if you talk about your strengths with a little evidence, and that will make your strengths more credible. And anybody can say that my strength is I'm very good with people. I'm a people person, and anybody can say that. But not everybody can say they have 3 years experience working in rest life and have a lot of experience in mediating conflicts. Okay, so if you want to talk about strengths, just make sure you have a little evidence, a little substance to back it up. Now about weakness, and honestly, this is one of the most annoying questions in interviews. What's your weakness? Okay, so now sometimes it's presented with context about the position. So for example, what's the potential weakness or potential room for growth or challenge you may face if you actually take this position? So they're inviting you to think about the can be potentially lack of certain area of experience or skills, and you identify this area, you would like to pick that up very quickly. And sometimes they would like to ask about personal weakness more along the line of work style or personal strengths and weakness. And so in that case, there's not really one single best answer, and try to find something that's authentic, and also of course do not find anything that's going to disqualify you from the job. And if you're applying to a job that requires very strong people skill, and your answer is that my weakness is I don't like working with people, that you will probably not get a job. And so weakness doesn't have to be a flaw, and the weakness, the good answer for that can be maybe some common, maybe your work habit or personal preferences, and not necessarily a bad thing, but you're aware that under certain circumstance, and it may hinder your work, and you're aware of that, and you have solutions to manage that. And for example, if I want to say, my weakness is I'm an introverted person. I am also a planner. I like to do everything very deliberately. And so if you put me in a situation, I have to randomly network with a lot of people without very clear agenda, that may make it really hard for me. And so if I have to thrive in that kind of situation, then I have to take baby steps. And for example, I need to set a baby step goals. I need to talk to 3 people, and if there's no clear agenda, maybe we'll come up with my question, prepare my own agenda when I approach the people to connect. And so does that suddenly make me a social butterfly? No, but that will make me functional and make my weakness manageable in that particular situation. So some other answers I've heard from my peers or from students, and or like if you work in helping profession, and you may tell a student that I really like helping people, and that's why I applied to this job. And because my desire to help people, it's very hard for me to say no when people request for help. And I understand that if I'm new to this job, I have not fully mastered my responsibility yet. I keep agreeing to other people's requests for help. I may drop the ball. I may not be able to take care of my core responsibility. So I've learned to find the balance of find the boundary about focusing my primary responsibility first. After I take care of the priority, I will be open to help other people. And also I've heard students talking about, I think this is an accounting student. He talks about that he's not very good in, not very comfortable in public speaking, and he hoped one day he will take a leadership role. So that's why he really want to improve his public speaking skill. Therefore, he took an elective class about public speaking, and joined student organization and run for officers, and joined Toastmaster, and to challenging himself to overcome this weakness. So again, weakness is not a trick to try to disqualify you. And asking about weakness is more about more about asking if you have awareness of your natural work style or preferences that may be potentially a little bit, in certain situations, may feel a little bit uncomfortable. And the important thing is that you have awareness of that and you have solution to manage that, then that will be a good answer. And by the way, please do not say you're a perfectionist, and that's a cliche that's being used over and over. And the employers may not laugh in front of your face, but they heard that all the time. And so again, please don't use the word perfectionist as weakness. What motivates you? And when I'm on the hiring committee, usually I like to ask this question because I want to know that this person we hire into our organization, besides just working for a paycheck, and what makes this person thrive? What motivates this person? What makes this person go above and beyond? And of course, there's not one right answer about it. And your motivation can be you want to see how far you can go, how much you can accomplish, and your motivation will be I want to make as much impact in the community as possible, or I grow up in a family where my parents sacrifice a lot for me to go to school, and every time I think of my parents, and that just gives me motivation to work hard. And again, think about this ahead of time. There's no right or wrong answer. Why did you choose your major, your industry, your company? And hopefully by the time when you're heading to an interview, you feel pretty clear about why you're interested in your major in the industry. And as for why are you interested in this particular company, that's why you need to do research ahead of time and connect what do you want to do to what this company is about. And so where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And so this is not necessarily a question that requires you to give the audience a very specific position. For example, after I join your company, after 2 years, and I will get my CPA, and the next step is I'm going to become a senior accountant, and then I'm going to become a manager, and in 5 years, I'm going to be a partner. And for most industry, really, employees don't need a very specific structured plan like that. And they just want to know that you have a career aspiration that's well aligned with what they do. So if they actually hire you, there's a good likelihood that you're going to grow with them, you're going to stay with them for a while. And so because when an employer hire a new hire into their organization, the hiring process takes time, takes a lot of staffing time and resources. And once the new hire is hired into the organization, getting this new person up to speed, that takes time and resources as well. So once an employer find a good fit, usually they will hope this person will stay for a while with them. And so I know an alumni who looks perfect on the paper. She got a lot of interviews, but never got an offer, actually never advanced to a second round of interview. And so when we did a interview practice, and her answer to this, your future career plans, that I want to work for you for a year, then I'm going to law school. And of course, most employers are not interested in hiring her unless she's applying to a temp position. So now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you can tell the employer that in the next couple of years, and I would really like to master the responsibility of this position, learn as much as I can, and then after that, I will seek to increase my responsibility in so and so area, and I really would like to develop my skill in so and so area. And as long as your career plan is consistent with what this employer is doing, I think that's a pretty safe answer. Okay, so we have many well-qualified candidates. Why should we hire you? And so again, if you advance to the interview process, especially the final interview, the chances that your competitors will also be well qualified. And so besides being qualified, then why should they hire you? And so that's why it's very important to identify the need, the culture, and the mission and value of this organization, and then demonstrate that you're their solution and your strengths is a good fit to their need. And so again, this requires thorough research and a careful review about the position description, and the thorough research about the organization itself. And also, if you have a consistent personal branding message, then when you usually when employers ask this question more toward the end, and you will be able to refresh their memory, summarize again. And so let me continue to use the example I gave earlier. So this person in the introduction saying that I have a 3-year experience as an RA and very interesting rest life, and particularly like working with people, helping them to mediate conflicts. And when talking about strengths and weakness, and talking about the strengths that I'm very good with people, I really like to listen to people's needs and concern. I help them find solutions and help them to work through differences. And if they later on they ask you to give me an example, you use your leadership or communication skill and to work through a difficult situation. You give a story about how you use your people skill to resolve conflicts in a very difficult situation, and everybody was happy. Now, at that time, the employees probably is already very well impressed by this consistent thing that you're a people person, you're a good listener, and you really have the skill to help people work through differences. And so if they ask you, why should we hire you? We have many good, well-qualified candidates. And your answer can be, oh, I understand this position really require very strong people skill. And I may be potentially dealing with the situation that people have very different work style, very different opinions. And I believe my ability to connect with people and work through differences and resolve conflicts will make me a very good candidate. So that's how you can connect your personal branding message to the employer's need to answer a question like this. Okay, so now beside the basic introduction, personal assessment question, employers like to ask behavior interview questions. A behavior interview question is the kind of question that employers usually present as, please give me a situation, please give me an example that in so and so kind of situation, and what did you do, and what happened, what's the result. And so they want to provide an opportunity to share some real example to showcase your skills or qualities. And usually this type of behavior interview question will focus more on the qualities such as leadership, teamwork, or taking initiative, or overcoming challenges, or working with people, the kind of skill, maybe more transferable and the soft skill, not the kind of skill that can be tested or quantified on paper. And that's why they want to hear a story to see your skills in action. So because there can be so many different possible behavior interview questions, because there's so many different possibility of behavior interview questions, and you will want to read the job description carefully, and depending on the kind of quality they're looking for in a candidate, and you can get a little bit hint about what kind of question they may ask. So now to prepare for behavior interview questions, I would recommend recall a situation that show favorable action or behavior in school or work setting, and especially related to the quality I mentioned earlier, leadership, teamwork, taking initiative, or working with difficult people and overcoming challenges, and prepare at least 3 to 5 good stories to share. And I recommend type them down, and you don't have to memorize every single line, but I recommend write it down and practice telling the story out loud many, many times until you feel comfortable with the story. And so when you tell the story in the middle of interview, you don't have to pause and think and reduce the hiccup, and your story will be presented in a more polished manner, and it's easier for employers to follow. So now here's an example. Example is actually the next page. Okay, so now we recommend write down your story and also practice telling your story STAR approach, STAR method. STAR stands for situation and the task. What are the situations, tasks, and challenges involved? And action, what action did you take and how did you deliver your actions? And the result, what are the results? And so based on the feedback from the employers who have interviewed on campus, and they told us that our students sometimes are a little bit flat on the action part, a little bit lack of depth. So action is not only about what you did, but also maybe a little bit of reasoning, why you chose one course of actions over another, and also how you deliver that. How you use your personal quality or skill or strengths to deliver your action. So it's not just about what you do, what you did, but also why and how. Okay, so the next page is an example. So when I was promoted to the project leader position working on XYZ project, I inherited 5 team members with vastly different personalities, talents, and communication styles. And because of the differences initially, there were lots of conflicts among team members about division of responsibilities. So you can see, they're talking about the situation and the challenge without bad-mouthing anybody. And this is very important. When you're describing a situation that potentially may have difficult people to work with, or difficult situation, or maybe your personal memory was not the most pleasant time, but try to make sure that you do not badmouth anybody, and try to describe the challenge in a factual way. Think about what's the challenge and what needs to be solved. And action. So I've observed that because the team members have strong opinions, the group meeting were not very productive, and because I was newly promoted in my position, I'm not getting enough trust as a mediator. And so in order to build a relationship individually, and I met with them separately, learn about their strengths and work style, and listen without making judgment, and I was able to understand their perspectives. So instead of just saying that, I met with everyone to listen to their concern. So this action part talks a little about the reasoning why this person decided to take this action, and also how this person delivered the action by being a good listener. And the result, with this insight, I was able to propose a new responsibility chart, and all members were able to connect and assign new tasks according to their talents and interests. And the project turned out to be successful, and we won the award. And so when you try to come up with a story, try to find a story that has a positive ending, or at least has a positive impact as a result of your work. And because if you describe a story after the heroic, epic effort you tried, and in the end everything still fell apart, that doesn't really attest, it's not a good testimony of your skills. Okay, so try to find something that shows the impact of as a result of your action. So write down 3 to 5 stories similar to this, and practice telling them until you feel comfortable. Okay, so next part, ask questions. Usually toward the end of the interview, employers may ask, do you have any question for us? And so because interview is to get to know each other, so besides getting to know you, then there is also an opportunity for you to get to know them as well. And so when it comes to asking questions, I recommend ask something that show your enthusiasm and your desire to thrive in the organization, and then the conversation in a positive tone. So for example, what characteristic best describes a successful employee in an organization, or what skill that an attribute you value most from someone in this position? And that implies that not only you want the job, you want to do well in this position. And how does your company measure performance or success? Similarly, and you don't want to be a mediocre employee. You want to be a high-performing employee. You want to be a successful employee. What are the next steps in the interview process? And so sometimes the employers may not give you very detailed instruction about what they expect next. And it's totally okay to ask, thank you so much for having the conversation with me today. And what's the next step of the hiring process? And how do I follow up? And so to show the employers that you have interest to continue the hiring process. And if doing your research, you find out something interesting about this organization, you can incorporate that into your question as well. I saw on your website that X, your client, and I will be working with them in this role. Avoid asking about salary, benefits, and the vacation. That will be a different conversation later. And also avoid asking something that can be potentially challenging, controversial, or put the employer in a difficult spot. I remember a few years ago, there was a scandal from, I think, the Wells Fargo Bank, and some of their associates created a fake account to boost their sales performance. And so Wells Fargo recruiters came to campus to do a info session, and the student actually asked in front of everybody about their scandal. And maybe the recruiter is well prepared to address that, but you never know. It can be risky to put your interviewer, put the recruiter in an uncomfortable spot, and by asking something that's potentially embarrassing. And so I'm not saying that's absolutely no, but knowing that there's a risk when you ask anything that's potentially challenging or challenging and controversial. So be careful about that. Okay, so general tips about answering questions. Like I mentioned earlier, during the interview, when you talk about, especially if you talk about a scenario working in a difficult situation, working with difficult people, or you made a mistake, and be positive about your message. And so instead of, oh, those people are terrible to work with, and talk about that, how you're able to turn a challenging situation around, and in the end, we're so much happier with each other. And talking about mistake, and you can talk about how much you've learned from your mistake, and how much better professional you are today because of that learning experience. So make sure that you bring positive message with you, because the employers probably do not want to work with a very negative person. And avoid 1 or 2 words responses, and interviews a conversation. And if you always give 1, 2 word responses, it's hard for the employers to learn about you, who you are as a person and as a professional. I'll give concrete examples. Another example, like earlier, I talked about people skill, and I've been an RA for 3 years, and I've worked on many cases of roommate conflicts, and I'm very confident about that. So give concrete examples. If the question is long, and it's totally okay to paraphrase the question to make sure you understand the question correctly. And you can also, if the question is long, or you feel that you need to give the question a little bit of thought before you jump in the answer, it's okay to ask employer, wow, that's a really good question. Would you mind if I write it down and give a moment of thought first? And write it down on your notepad, and outline your answer, give a moment of thought before you jump into the first thing in your mind, and that will come across as thoughtful and well organized. And emphasize what you have to offer for the company and how you may be a good fit. And then again, in an interview, during that stage of the hiring, and the employer can probably hire any one of the interviewee to do the work, but who is going to be a good fit, and who is going to be a good fit, not only being a solution for their needs, but also being a good fit to the company culture, to the company's mission and value. So it's very important to build a case that you are the best candidate, not only you're qualified, but also you're a good fit to their needs. Okay, come on interview blunders, and show up unprepared, dressing appropriately. And so if you're not sure what's the appropriate attire for the interview, you can always ask when you're trying to set up the interview. And if your cell phone goes off during the in the interview, or you actually check the phone or pick up the phone, and that's not going to make a very good impression. Show up late. And so not only showing up late is a very much an interview killer. If you show up just 1 minute before the interview and show up all sweaty and coming about, it's so hard to find parking, and it's also show that you're unprepared. And I'm seeing, when I was interviewing people, I've seen examples like that, and people show up right on time, and barely on time, or a minute, 2 minutes late. And although that's barely late, but it still shows the candidate is not very well prepared, not very well planned for the interview. And so I would recommend show up at least 10 minutes early, and you probably want to plan to show up if this is a in-person interview, you probably want to plan to show up way early, and just to, if you're not familiar with the traffic, the location, the parking, and you really want to give yourself plenty of time, buffer time, and actually show up in the office and announce your presence maybe 10 minutes ahead of the scheduled interview. Speak negatively about others. I already mentioned that earlier. Lack of energy or enthusiasm. Let's see. Oh, actually, speaking negatively about others, it's not about the message exchange in the interview itself. And once you're in the interview sites and people are watching you, and then whether it's waiting in the front desk area, or maybe after the interview, you're one of the staff members taking you for a company tour, and everything you say will make an impression there. And if you let your guard down and you start making snarky remark or speaking negatively about people, the hiring managers are going to hear about that. Okay, so those are some common interview blunders. All right, so now the next part, I'm going to cover a little bit about, before I start a salary negotiation. Actually, I want to address a question that student asked during the live session. The student asked about interview follow-up. And so the student's question is about how to follow up with your professional connection and to probe about a job opportunity. That's a little bit more broad and generic. I think put into interview context. First, follow up. After having an interview, within 24 hours, send the employer a thank you note. It can be handwritten card, can be email, and it's common etiquette. Employers actually would expect that from a job candidate, but maybe 1 out of 5 job candidate actually does that after an interview. So if you do that, that will make you look good. A second about follow up, and you can always ask an employee that what to expect next, how to follow up after the interview, and make sure you respect the employee's instruction. And generally speaking, and maybe after a week after your interview, you can just touch base and let them know that you're still interested in the position, really appreciate you really appreciate the opportunity to speak with them, you're really interested in the position, just wonder if there's any update about the position. And amid the impact of COVID-19, and sometimes after employers interview you and maybe their hiring situation changed, then maybe it's a delay or postponed in their hiring, and maybe things are uncertain, they have not had the chance to update all the candidates. And it's okay to follow up, to touch base with them, to show your continuing interest and enthusiasm. And as long as you ask politely without giving them too much pressure, you can probably tell them that, thank you so much for the opportunity to the interview for so and so position on day so and so. It has been a few weeks since we talked, since our interview, and I'm just curious about the current hiring status. And I know under this unusual circumstance, you must be very busy, and I don't want to give you any undue pressure. And I just want to reiterate that I'm still available to work and I'm still very interested in this position. Okay, so now next part, salary negotiation. So salary negotiation, the session today will cover 3 areas: preparation, which is the most important part, and how to handle the salary negotiation topic during the interview. And once you receive an offer, and how to evaluate and counter the offer. Okay, preparation is really the key. So first of all, the mindset, the fear of negotiation. And will they receive the offer or maybe just offer the job to someone else? And I can imagine, especially in a difficult economy, a lot of employers are canceling their position, and you don't know if you miss this offer, that when's the next offer you're gonna get. And when the employer call you and tell you that, oh, we would like to offer you so and so and so position for so and so salary, and it's probably very tempting for you to say, yes, I'm going to take this job. I'm going to accept this offer right away. And however, knowing that when employers who give you the initial offer, they probably expect the candidate to negotiate. And so they're unlikely to offer you the maximum possible salary right off the bat. And so usually there will be room to negotiate, unless if they have no room to negotiate salary at all, they will oftentimes they will tell you beforehand. And so if they offer you a job and with a salary range, and try to resist the temptation of accepting that right on spot. And I've heard a lot of people sharing how regretful they were after that, and but it's a little too late to walk back on their agreement. So now, will employees really rescind their offer just because the candidate tried to negotiate? And my understanding is that the risk is real. But however, you can minimize the risk if you negotiate, if you counter the offer within reason, and also do so professionally and courteously. And almost all the cases I've read or I've heard about, candidate's offer being taken away because the candidate tried to negotiate fall into those two categories. First, they counter with a salary that is way beyond the original offer. Employer just simply cannot offer them. And second is the way they countered the offer was not very professional. For example, walking back on their initial agreement. And that's one of the cases that, one of the reasons that I've heard about people's offer being taken away. So now, first of all, understand what will be a reasonable range, and research a company and the position ahead of time using salary.com, payscale.com, glassdoor.com to get a sense of, for this position with this kind of organization, what would be a reasonable salary range. And you can also use Bureau of Labor Statistic, the Occupational Outlook Handbook to get a national average about the salary of different occupations. And if you know you have mentors or you know anybody already working in similar positions, and you can probably learn a little bit about the salary range from informational interviews. So do your research first, and so you're unlikely to get surprised when you hear the offer. And deciding your range and what would be ideal salary range, and what would be acceptable if other conditions are met. And for example, good benefit, or I really love the job and the company, you're willing to take this job with a salary that may be slightly lower than your desired salary. And what would be absolutely no-go? You just cannot live with this amount of salary. You really have to decline the offer. So have those defined ahead of time. And also, if you're applying to jobs in a town that you're not familiar with, and consider the cost of living in different cities. And for example, a candidate, let's say if we're interviewing a job in San Diego, and a candidate from San Francisco may find the salary we have offered is not very attractive and comparing to the San Francisco Bay Area. But if this person does a little the calculation about the cost of living, and they may find out that the salary we offer actually can maybe actually afford a comparable lifestyle in San Diego area, just because the cost of living is so different. Okay, so now how to handle the salary requirement question during the interview process. Ideally, the salary conversation is best to happen after the employer decide to hire you. They want to give you an offer. At that time, you're in a much better position to negotiate salary, because they already want you to work for them, and they already go through all the process, all the hassle of hiring. They decide that you are the best candidate. And now, if you negotiate salary, give them a good reason, and then most likely they will be willing to work with their human resources department to see what they can do salary-wise. And however, in the initial hiring stage, the initial interview, you have not impressed them as the very best candidate they want to hire, and you don't have the same kind of leverage when it comes to salary negotiations. So it's best to save the salary conversation to the end of the interview process. And so if the employer asks you during the interview, what are your salary requirements, or what's your salary range early on in the interview, you can probably tell them that I will be happy to discuss the salary, but at this time, we really hope to focus on learning about the full picture of the full scope of the responsibility of this job. And I want to hope to focus on discussing how my skill and experience may be fit this job requirement. So I think it's reasonable to tell employers that you will be more ready to discuss salary after you get a full picture about the job requirement and how you may be a good fit. So if the employers absolutely want to ask for a salary range, and sometimes they even ask in the job application form, you can always give them a range and tell them that's negotiable depending on responsibility and other benefits. Okay, so we would like to offer you this position with so-and-so salary per year as a starting salary. And so instead of telling them, oh, of course, I'm going to take this offer. And of course, show them appreciation, show them you're excited. And unless you absolutely feel that there's really no more room to negotiate. This is a really, really good salary, way beyond your expectation, and you cannot find any reason to counter that. And otherwise, you can always ask for some time to consider the offer and give a specific time frame. Like, thank you so much for offering me the so-and-so position. Very excited about the potential opportunity to be part of your team. May I take a little time to consider the offer and then reply to you in 48 hours? And you can tell them, I would like to speak with my partner about this, or I would like to discuss with my family first. And it's totally reasonable to ask. The employers have taken maybe 2-3 months of the process, interview 12 different candidates, and finally they decide want to hire you. They really want you to be the person, and they can wait for 48 hours. And if the employer tell you that, no, you have to tell me right now or the deal is off, then I think that's a very questionable way to offer a job. Okay, so consider the offer. How does the salary offer compare to your research and expectations? And if you were to ask for a higher salary, and what would be the reason? What the unique skills, experience, or value can contribute to the employer? And maybe something not on the job requirement or qualification, but it can be very highly transferable, very useful skills. And maybe you can speak extra language, and maybe you have many years of experience, let's say many years of experience in sales, and highly transferable to an environment where you're going to build a connection and build new relationships. And so those are just a couple of examples that how you can use transferable skills, extra experience, or something that's not necessarily required for the job, but will be a nice addition. So if salary is non-negotiable, what are some other negotiable items? And for example, flexible schedule, starting day, work remotely from home sometimes, and one-time relocation expense, etc. You can also ask the employer that the possibility of doing a performance evaluation after 6 months and see if there's any chance to increase the salary based on the initial evaluation. So when you're ready to counter the offer, again, reiterate your appreciation and interest, and state the salary, additional negotiable items, and explain the reason, and focus on what you can bring to the employer and not your own financial need. And allow the employers to take some time to consider and respond. And if agreements reached, get it in writing. And then once you officially accept an offer, this is very important. Once you accept the offer, you decide to work with the employer, it's important for you to withdraw from other active job applications and notify other employers who are extending offer to you. So, okay, so actually this is another question from the live session. A student asked about when you're receiving multiple job offers, how do you leverage those multiple offers to negotiate your salary? So at that time, you can probably tell the employer that if you already have 2 offers and maybe you really like job A, but job B is offering a little bit higher salary, you can tell the employer that there's another company is offering me a similar position with so-and-so salary. Can you match or counter that amount? And so that's if you have a specific offer from a competitor. And if you're in a situation where maybe job A give you an offer and you already interviewed for job B and you really feel that maybe potentially I really want to work for job B. I really want to find out what's going on with job B. And in that case, you can tell the employer that first you may want to check with the employer B to find out the hiring timeline, when you will be able to find out the results, and then let the employer A know that you can tell them that thank you so much for the offer. And as you can imagine, I'm applying to multiple jobs, and actually I've been to several interview process, and I really hope to have all the options considered before I commit to a final decision. And it would be acceptable if I respond to you by the end of the week. And usually for the employers, waiting for a week or 2 is acceptable. If you want them to wait longer than that, it's probably going to be a little bit harder. But if you feel that other place you have interviewed for, you may find out the results soon, and check with other employers and see, especially you can tell the other employers that you already received an offer from another employer, and they wonder if it's possible to expedite the process and let you know what's happening with their end of the hiring, and reiterate your interest. You really would like to consider their position as well before commit to another company. So now what's not acceptable would be you get an offer from a company A, but you really want to work for company B and you haven't heard back from them, and you're wondering maybe they're going to interview me soon, and I want to keep waiting, and just tell the company A that you know what, I'm interviewing for other companies. I want to find out whether I can interview. I don't know when it's going to be, and you can wait a little bit. Can you wait a little bit longer? And that's not okay. That clearly shows that this employer A really is not your preferred position. And in that case, you must as well just decline altogether. It's not courteous to ask employers to keep waiting and waiting without a very specific time frame. And also, it's not okay to lie about another company give you an offer much higher, and can you counter the other company's offer? And because those recruiters working in the same industry, they may know each other. HR people, human resources people in the same industry, they know each other. And if they find out that you lie about the other employer's offer, and it's going to make a very bad name for yourself. So please don't do that. And plus, it's just not the right thing to do. Okay, so this is the interview and the salary negotiation recorded session. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you have any question, please feel free to email me directly, alexo@sandiego.edu. And if you want to make one-on-one interview practice or any career related, you can make any career related question, you can make a virtual appointment by going to our website, www.sandiego.edu/careers. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good day.